Let's see, what is it? Yep, they talk about critical race theory masks and school boards. Oh, it's a fun one. I might watch the entire one of this one.
Welcome to the bullpen.
I'm probably going to dab off camera just so you guys know. So if you see me doing anything weird, I'm just dabbing. But I don't know if I should do it on cam. I could do it on cam on Twitch, but I plan on posting this on
Sorbo,
YouTube.
Actress, TV host, and author of Words for Warriors. Sam, good day. Welcome.
Here we go.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being on the show. I want to make a note. You also studied biomedical engineering at Duke University before pursuing a career in modeling.
True.
All right.
Guilty is charged.
She's already kind of Karen feeling, right?
Right, wait a second. Theory, mask.
Like, doesn't that make you feel like she's a Karen? Like, she's like, oh, okay. Because he did a little research on her. It's not even a bad thing. She's a model and she went to school or whatever. Who cares? She's a decent looking woman for her age. You know what I mean? Like, but she was like, took it a whole nother way. Dude, you'll see as it goes on. This is going to be a blast. I mean, Kevin Sorbo could probably make better arguments than she could. Neither of them can make a goddamn argument worth of fucking shit anyway. So let's get into it.
Mandates, vaccine, protocols, etc. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about critical race theory. So if you would, give us your sentiment as it relates to CRT.
My sentiment about CRT is it convinces young children that they are inherently racist, and I find that very sad.
Now, where did you get that definition from?
Can you see this on camera?
Just from what I've read about how they are training critical race theory in our schools today.
All right, and what is critical race theory?
What is critical race theory? Yes, please, give us your definition.
What is critical race theory? What is the theoretical framework?
Critical race theory is terrible.
The framework is that it
teaches it looks kind of cool on camera, but yeah,
they're so racist. Basically that the United States is inherently a racist nation.
It says that the fucking structures and the way the society is set up in every facet virtually of life is put in a way that does, and not even on purposefully in a good chunk of the time, but sometimes, but it's inherently and purposefully or not, it's put there and it is an accidental or, like I said, purposeful barrier to people of color. It doesn't matter. Like, there's no way to say it's not. There are so many fucking statutes, laws across all this nation, and there's so many things in the original Constitution that had to be changed for even women to vote. Like, it's obviously a flawed document that needed to be changed over time, and it just shows the change in time, over time. And critical race theory is like something that it can be... It's not even taught in like lower schools in most cases. It's taught in like higher forms, like classes I would have took in college. You know what I mean? Like it's a higher level type of thought because a kid isn't going to understand all that complex stuff. Of course, she doesn't understand it. And she's a fucking, I don't know how old she is, but a woman, a full grown female. So you know what I mean? Like it's clearly above all these people to understand this. You just got to have a little fucking like knowledge of history and historical context, legislative documents, and yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, she has none of those things, apparently. I think she might be ignorant to those facts, and she believes what she believes based upon whatever false facts or upon whatever theoretical structure that she believes in, but that doesn't make it any less flawed, you know. So I feel bad for her. She believes the Kevin Sorbo syndrome is very alive and strong.
You're incorrect on the teaching of critical race theory. Critical race theory actually de-emphasizes the individual racist person. So it cannot, by structure and design, teach that individual racist people are the problematic variable. It actually de-emphasizes individuality in the construct of the theory itself. The other part is that critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 education.
I said that,
It is an advanced theoretical construct that is taught.
I'm pretty sure I said very similar words too. Me and the doc got it.
Are in undergraduate collegiate studies, you do not take critical race theory. Typically, that's for master's, doctoral, and even some JD programs.
Me and the doc got it, dude.
When you look at
then I'm not sure why teachers are complaining that they are taking critical race theory away from them and insisting that they will teach it regardless. Maybe you're
he's an educator. He's got what? We'll take a pause there. Let him educate you.
Out there.
No, you're incorrect on that. School
You are.
teachers are very aware of what critical race theory is.
Yes.
And they say very proudly and boldly, we don't teach critical race theory inside of our school system.
They don't. And people try to wrongfully place that fucking label on just simple basic history being taught in school. Now history is apparently wrong. We can't teach kids that maybe the foundation of America was based upon things that aren't necessarily like, you know, every man for them all. Yes, a lot of people that helped build America did want every man to be equal, but not all of them. And because of that, we have some structures and situations that are unbalanced and not fair to the people of color. It's not fair to people who are poor. It's not fair to a lot of people, but it's definitely and specifically not fair to people of color. You know what I mean? Like there's actual legislation, actual legislative precedent, current and past, for all of that.
So that's why.
And yet some of them say that they will. So,
madam, I'm gonna explain to you what you're conflating. Okay, critical race theory is not even a phraseology used in the legislation passed by these Republican lawmakers. The terminology critical race theory is not even in the bill.
The bill.
Quote unquote.
I like the way he talks.
They're not banning critical race theory.
I wonder where he's
from.
They
don't say it in the legislation.
I have no
They
clue.
say it at the press conference, but it's not in the legislation because the legislation does something else. Let me bring your attention to Texas. Are you familiar with the Texas bill that said it is banning the teaching of critical race theory, even though CRT is not in the confines of the statutory doctrine? Are you aware of the,
it's not,
the Texas
they're
legislation?
They're banning something that's not even being taught.
Right, so in the Texas legislation,
it's ridiculous. A waste of time.
Stops the teacher's ability from teaching things like the KKK being morally wrong.
See, yes, and they're wrongfully applied. Yes,
still teach these dynamics of white supremacy and racism.
Isn't that ridiculous?
To the KKK, but they can no longer give deference in the teaching. That's ridiculous, dude. Meaning they cannot
I was going to pause it.
Moral wrong. They've also used.
I am going to pause it. That's so ridiculous. They are literally using the argument that, or they're using critical race theory as an umbrella term in that legislation to actually further suppress the parts of history that were like pro white supremacy and pro like keeping people of color down. It's funny. They're trying to literally use that label that's not being taught in school at all and apply it to things that aren't critical race theory so they can apply their agenda to the way that kids are grown up and raised in their state. And it's fucking disgusting.
Utilize their
Take it over,
critical
doctor.
Race theory ban, which by the way, CRT is not in the legislation itself, in order to stop certain books that have Rosa Parks, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other legacy individuals being taught inside of the school system. So here's what has happened, and I'm glad you're on the show because I get an opportunity to educate you on the facts. They're not banning critical race theory because critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 education. Did you learn critical race theory in school?
What annoying sound. That was a horrible sound. My cough sounds better than that fucking whatever the fuck that was.
Do you have children?
I do.
Did they learn critical race theory in school?
My children
I
don't
feel bad
go
for
to
her children.
School.
Of course they don't. She's rich and can afford to do some weird exotic schooling or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, my kids don't go to public school. I'm rich. Jesus was good to us.
You have friends that have children in public school?
Lol.
Some.
Are their children learning critical race theory?
No.
I've heard of some.
They're learning.
They're learning it in kindergarten. I heard it too. I heard it down the street. Like they're learning in kindergarten about the complex societal structures that were set against the colored people when this country was founded and our legal doctrines. Yeah, I remember that being taught in all the local kindergartens. Someone just told me that yesterday. Yep. I heard it from someone's cousin's nephew's uncle's brother, actually. It's fucking crazy. It's out there, and it's real. It's a real thing that's occurring. Watch out. It's happening. The fuck?
They're learning what we generally term as critical race theory. You can parse your words and you can say...
I'm only upset that Kevin Sorbo didn't make a goddamn, cameo
Well, that's not actually what critical race theory is, but there is something now currently in the vernacular, and there are teachers who espouse it, and it is called critical race theory.
But it's not.
But it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
If
it's
not
not
critical race theory being taught,
no,
it's not critical race theory. That's like saying, well, they're teaching calculus just because they're teaching math.
Yep.
No. If you're teaching math, that doesn't mean you're teaching calculus.
That's great.
Okay?
That's a great
Critical
fucking.
race
That's
theory
it. That's a good
is an
one.
advanced
I didn't put it
construct.
technically in that term. That's good.
Typically K through 12 students aren't even.
That's good.
They're not advanced enough or have the capacity, intellectual capacity, to learn variables that are associated with advanced frameworks like CRT or critical thinking.
I
or
just
any
said
other
that right
framework,
before he
grounded
said it
theory,
there.
etc.
That's what I said.
So
Yes.
this is the challenge that I have with people.
What
who say,
child's
okay,
going to
we gotta
understand?
ban critical race
Some
theory.
most
First of
kids
all, nobody
at
was
that
even talking about
age don't
critical
even
race
understand the
theory
idea of
before
race, like
roughly 2018,
fully. It's a very
2017.
complex.
It was not
It's a
this
simple
big evil.
concept, but very
To me, to
complex
tell me that
in
all of a sudden
contours
school teachers
and variables, as
within the
Dr.
last 4
Rashad said.
years,
It's
they
very true.
started teaching critical race theory. They got trained on this. I'm talking about lifelong educators. All of a sudden, started teaching CRT.
Yep.
No, I think that
Yep.
Because of COVID,
Yeah.
parents finally started.
I'm not
wake
saying
up
yep as in
to
they
a
did.
lot of the
I'm
different
joking.
directives that are being taught.
I'm
in our
agreeing with what
schools,
he's
not just
saying.
critical race
I'm not
theory.
joking. I don't know what the fuck I said
Okay.
there.
Once
High.
again,
I'm
critical
high.
race
I just
theory
did a
is not
dab.
taught in
So.
K through 12 education. Do you know how
Then
long?
why are they arguing that they have to keep teaching it? Okay.
Ma'am.
They're not.
Fair
Once
enough.
again,
They're
they're
not.
arguing against eliminating levels of education that
Yes.
deal with the reality
They
of
don't-
America.
yes,
It's not
yes.
critical race theory to teach that the KKK
No.
is evil.
No.
That's not critical
No, of
race
course
theory.
not.
No.
No.
That's
However,
exactly what they're trying to get rid of in
people,
Texas.
They passed a law saying that teachers,
Yes.
one, they're not required to teach it as they were before.
Yes.
And two, if they do teach about the KKK, they cannot teach that they are morally wrong in history. Is that fair for students?
But what I'm wondering is why there are teachers, and these are teachers, these are educators who are insisting that they will teach critical race theory.
No, ma'am,
What do
that's
you
not
make
what they're
about
saying.
those?
I need you to go back. I need you to do some research on this.
I need you to
Teachers are not
actually come to
protesting
the show
to
as a
teach
fucking
critical race
research
theory.
lady.
They don't know. They don't know critical race theory for the most part. That's not something they were trained
No.
in. They were trained on history. They were
Yeah, the teachers don't even know what the fuck critical race theory is. How the fuck are they going to teach it? They do know what racism is, and they can teach kids at certain levels of education system to what racism is, so they at least know what it is, so they can avoid it, know the fucking the warning signs, the identifiers, and show how it was bad for society as a whole and how we can fix it going forward in future times. Like, it should be a thing that it should be a thing that we should be like unity for everyone, not fucking like we shouldn't be in 2021 arguing about critical race theory as a construct for children when it's not. They're teaching them about just basically race in general. They're not teaching them about the big constructive fucking college course level shit that this Kevin Sorbo's wife is trying to show. It's actually crazy.
trained on
They
American
think they
television.
know it. They're the educators, and they think that they know it.
Ma'am, listen to me,
I'm
please.
probably gonna
I'm trying to make a
skip
point 'cause
their-
I think you are authentically misguided.
I'm not. I
and
don't
genuinely
know.
believe what you're saying. I
I'm
don't think
probably
you're
going to
going through
skip
anything else.
the
Why would
masks
I
and
say
school
something that I
board
don't
talk.
believe?
I'm a former high school teacher. My mother is still a current high school teacher. I'm a current college professor. I teach
Yes,
critical
I
race
am
theory.
actually,
I've taught
because
it since
pro-choice,
2016.
pro-life is so amazing.
School systems do not teach critical race theory. What you see
In a bad
teachers
way, really.
talking about and protesting is that state governments have now limited their ability to teach true history in America that deal with racial dynamics, not critical race theory. That's what you see happening. That is the protest. It's not about CRT. They never taught CRT. And the only evidence that you need
They never did.
to
He's
examine-
right. He's
to
right.
show that I'm telling
He's
you
right.
the truth, simply review the legislation that has been deemed anti-critical race theory legislation. And what you will find missing is the terminology
Critical race theory. It's
Well, sure.
it's more. I'm glad I didn't click off somewhere else. No, it's worded in a way that just bans like straight up teaching about simple concepts about the racial structures of society, like the KKK and such. Like, that is something a kid can understand compared to like the big complex things. Like, and they use that as a term to try to wipe out that stuff. They're literally trying to use critical race theory which is not a bad thing to be taught in the college level, and they're trying to erase racist stuff in our past is just one part of that, and it's not even all racist things. It's just like simply just the KKK, just in simple things, and they're taking like that. That's like maybe 3%, 5% of critical race theory, and they're trying to apply that to the umbrella of all this just simple race talk things, like things about like Martin Luther King and stuff. Like it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
And I've seen it actually. And
Texas
I know that
fucking
the
sucks.
terminology is missing, but the terminology is just something that we've adopted as a catch-all in order to be able to refer to this kind of teaching with a single word or a phrase. But I think that generally speaking, that the teaching is that you as a black person are a victim, and I, who identify as a white person, are an oppressor, and that is the paradigm that the legislation seeks to ameliorate.
No, it doesn't. So teaching kids about the KKK just in general makes all white people look like horrible people? No. It makes racist white people look like horrible people because they fucking are. It makes racist of any race. Any race person who is racist is still a piece of shit. You can be a black person who's racist and still be a piece of shit. You can be an Asian person who's racist and be a piece of shit. You can be an Hispanic person, guess what? And be a racist and be a piece of shit. Like, it's fucking stupid to try to argue that, oh no, they're teaching in school that only white people are bad. No, what the fuck? Only a dumbass retarded person, pardon my language, like Kevin Sorbo's fucking wife would think that way. Like, oh my god damn.
Frankly, between you and me,
she has such a base level, simple-minded way of thinking about it. It's absolutely crazy, dude. I can't believe she's actually college educated in any degree at all. She sounds like a housewife that would be talking. If Dr. Rashad's had to talk down just to try to explain things to her, like, okay, let me try to extract some blood from this fucking stone, dude. Like, Jesus.
That they're probably misguided in trying to put that legislation in. Teacher's going to teach, they're going to teach.
Oh, she's so funny. Teacher's going to teach. Oh, isn't that funny? She made it funny.
Let me ask you a question. Now, let's jump from
she's trying to jump to because really, I've explained that
as best as I could to you. So let's talk about critical race theory as it is, okay? Critical race theory teaches that there are institutional biases that exist based on the ways our laws, systems, institutions were developed.
Yes.
Do you disagree with that premise?
Yes. No, I don't.
I don't think
I was saying what she was going to say. Yes, exactly.
Structures can be biased.
Okay.
Structures can't be biased. Okay.
When the U.S. Constitution was written, it wrote that I was 3/5 of a person. It also did not include institutionally women having the ability to participate in democracy. That was statutory and constitutional.
It didn't address democracy whatsoever. Go ahead.
But man, my point remains
that's
the same.
Not his fucking point.
That is
exactly.
Institutional, that's constitutional, and literally biases were written inside of the U.S. Constitution that were antithetical to black people and antithetical to women. Only rich white men or white men that own property could participate in the republic or democracy.
And he's not wrong. You had to be a land-owning white. You had to be a land-owning white to be a part of that participatory in that process at that time. You couldn't even be a white person who was poor. They were so discriminatory back then. It was absolutely ridiculous. And so that never happened. And even if they say, oh, well, it got fixed by amendments, right? Okay, yeah. And you're trying to say that there's not other things that need to be fixed by amendments. You're not trying to say that, like, racism doesn't exist innately in systems statewide, too. Like, it's not just at a national scale. It's statewide. He pointed out fucking Texas as a perfect fucking example. Some of those deep south states and some of those small prefectures and shit down there, like the county level and shit, they have some fucking, like, some of those places still have lynching laws where it's like okay to lynch people and shit. It's fucking disgusting, dude. Oh my god.
Do you see that?
Well, what do you make of amendments?
I think I read somewhere that they just got rid of one in some place down there. like last year maybe, and that just shows you that in 2020 they finally got rid of like not anti-lynching, but they finally placed anti-lynching stuff in their goddamn they're more of local legislation. It's just crazy. I hate this goddamn. It's eye-opening that she is trying to cling to this
Ma'am,
of her arguments.
To correct
it's crazy.
The institutional biases. But you just made my point that in order to correct an institutional bias, you must first admit one exists.
He's not wrong.
Big Blanket Co. has been
He's not wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
Apartment therapy, Mashable, House Beautiful, y'all.
But once you admit it exists,
I hope the volume mix is fine. I've been saying that.
And corrected, it's no longer there.
It probably is.
So
I've been checking on it some periodically, but not very often.
Biases created in America.
Well, I admit that some of the founding documents seem like they were biased, absolutely, because they enable.
So they can be biased, but they can't be racist. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. They can be biased, but they can't be racist. Which racism is the bias is because of they're literally glued together. Like, holy shit, I can't believe that. Oh my God. We got to keep going though. We got to go. We got to trug through this.
And that was incorrect.
We got to get through this, boys. We got to get the
also the Declaration of Independence.
Put on your damn golf shoes. We got a lot of muck around here.
Independence referred to Native Americans as savages. That's actually the language of the Declaration of Independence. Once again, bias inside of the institution. Now,
well, it depends on how you define the word savage.
Well,
I mean,
we know how
many of the Native Americans were quite savage.
We know, so were white people.
Yeah. He look at him. He's like looking at her like,
exactly.
and.
So you're not against using the word savage. So
you see what you just did, right?
No, because they're replacing it.
Bring up the native.
They're using label. They're using label, and that in what he's talking about as a label. She's using savage as just a general term for one who is barbaric, or one who behaves in a wild manner, pretty much. He is talking about literal people who are talking about a certain group of people. Like, yes, there could be a group of savages, but in the general term, that's not connected to race or by creed of any sort. Religion, age. This literally is connected to a specific group of quote-unquote savages, that being people of color, like Jesus Christ, lady.
Native Americans were savages as a justification for them being called savages in the Declaration of Independence. Then when
I wouldn't say that.
Oh, no, she wouldn't say that, ladies and gentlemen. She wouldn't say that.
No, I say and because you're making my point for me.
No.
You're okay with using the word savage. You just
white people call
are objection.
No, they're two different applications, you dumb bitch. You're acting like words can only have one application in society and life. Like, oh my God. Okay, for example, the term lit. Like, okay, lit can mean like, oh hell yeah, we're about to have a great time, a good time. Or lit could mean something that is currently like been ignited on fire. It could be something that's illuminated, just lit up visually. Like, there are so many applications in the noun, the verb, like something. It's like something can be lit. It's to be lit. Like, there's it's and the slang, I guess you will, terminology too. Like, she's trying to say that there's like one application for everything. There's a one, there's a zero.
Objecting to where it's applied?
I'm objecting to the fact that a government document, refers to a group of individuals that were raped, land stolen, they were murdered, till a trail of tears, etc.
Yes.
To refer to them as savages, written by
and once
savages.
again, that's not even African Americans. You know what I mean? That is literally Native Americans. Like, it's obviously inherently got the racism.
You have to find irony there, do you not?
Yeah, do you not?
Irony that savages wrote about savages?
About what they called
savages.
I beg your pardon?
Did they call themselves savages?
That I don't know, but certainly not in that document. That would be ridiculous.
In the document, they sure did.
Were there white people who were savage?
There are.
Always.
And that's the point, yes.
Where's the document in the government saying it?
Why would
That's
there
the
be?
difference.
That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
The
There you
bias itself is
Woo,
institutional
dude.
because
See,
of the
he
being
spins what
eroded.
they say against him, and I love it. He's so good. He's so good.
No.
So good. So good.
That doesn't make sense to you at all. The fact that they would call Native Americans that they
No, an institution is just that. It's a structure.
Yeah.
It can't be biased or not biased. It's a structure. Now, how it's implemented is where the bias results. And so the way that they implemented it, because they enabled certain people
like-
and disabled other people, that's where you find your bias. Once that bias is corrected, it's no longer there. So the idea is not to tear down the entire institution by saying, well, it started out with some biases.
And that's not what
The
he's saying
idea is
either.
to correct them and improve and move forward.
that is
At least
absolutely
that's
not.
what I call progress.
That's great. That's actually what we call critical race theory.
Yeah.
Critical race
That's
theory speaks to
exactly what I was
exactly
gonna
what you
say.
just said. It
Yes.
first analyzes the fact that there are institutional biases that exist in their origin or original documentation. You just said the very same thing. That reform needs to take place. You called it amendments. They call it reform. And there are a few other
It's all,
titles.
it's all an
You
umbrella term there.
believe the same thing. Critical race theory is not an answer.
She believes in critical race theory, but she doesn't
mode or
understand
method
it. She doesn't understand
for
it.
analysis.
She doesn't understand it.
You
It's fine.
believe
It's
in that
fine. It's
analysis
complex.
yourself, because in
It's
order
complex.
to correct the dysfunction of how it was written and how it's implemented, you must first examine it to come to a place of reform or remedy. That's what critical race theory teaches.
Well, I failed to see any of the quote unquote critical race theory analyses, I guess. So
What do you
that's
mean?
not what I'm
What do you
seeing,
mean?
but I am
You just haven't
seeing-
actively
but I-
looked
but
them
I
up?
have
Yeah, right, you
been
haven't actively looked them
seeing,
up?
The products of that, and I've seen a lot of irate
Wow.
parents.
I didn't look up anything, so it must not exist, everybody. You know what I mean?
With school children, and they are blaming critical race theory. So
Yeah, they're
your
tricked,
critical
just like
race
you
theory
were.
needs a branding solution, because the branding on it is terrible right now.
What?
So you're blaming critical race theory that has been around
The
since
branding that the right
1958,
puts on them,
that
the
was
right
formalized
put that
in the
on them. They don't put
1970s,
that
and
label on
became a
themselves.
boogeyman
Your
under
stupid
Donald
asses
Trump.
do.
You're blaming critical race theory for the outrageous criminal behavior of parents at school boards.
No. First of all, I didn't mention any outrageous criminal behavior. I haven't seen any, but
You haven't seen parents
but
fight
No,
at
man.
school boards?
I can't make a commentary on the fact that nobody noticed that this was.
Oh my god. Either way, you see where this is going. I'm going to move on because I got plenty of other shit.